Hello, good morning, and welcome to the class. So, the topic which we are going to study today is defense mechanism, and it is related to educational psychology. So, how it is going to help us today? The learning objectives for today's class is to understand the concept of defense mechanism, when they can be adaptive and maladaptive, when they can be used and when they are creating problems in our lives, so it needs guidance or counseling to define and recognize various types of defense mechanisms. So we are going to see what are the positive defense mechanisms, what are the negative defense mechanisms, and also to differentiate between some commonly confused defense mechanisms, because you will be going through various kinds of types of defense mechanisms. So some of them will be, look to you very similar. So you will be able to differentiate between those also. So it was actually given by Sigmund Freud in 1904, and he used this term, defense mechanism, to refer to the unconscious process that defends or protects a person against anxiety, shame, loss of self esteem, conflict, or unacceptable feelings. So it is all related to our emotions. So, according to Freud, when id is in serious conflict with ego and superego, the individual suffer from tension or anxiety. So, defense mechanism enables a person to resolve conflict and reduce the stress and anxiety. So, it is a natural part of our, daily happenings and emotional conflicts. So, usually, all defense mechanisms are operated at unconscious level. We don't do it, purposely or consciously. It is done at unconscious level. So most of defense mechanisms are self-deceptive in nature. So it is a pattern of adjustment through which an individual relieves anxiety caused by an uncomfortable situation that threatens their self-esteem. So automatically, unconsciously, they go through such, adopt such defense mechanisms because it is going to threaten their self-esteem. So to relieve anxiety, they follow these kind of mechanisms. So when these defense mechanisms are used moderately, are harmless, but if excessive and persistent defense is used, then it turns into harmful effect on ourselves. So let us take a look at the classification of defense mechanism. So these defense mechanisms are classified according to its results, and this is why we classify them into positive defense mechanism or negative defense mechanism. So it is all based on the psychoanalytic theory given by Freud, and it protects a person from anxiety producing thoughts and feelings related to internal conflicts and other stressors. So it may result in healthy or unhealthy consequences, depending on the circumstances and frequency with which this mechanism is used. So defense mechanisms are psychological strategies, basically, which are brought into play by the unconscious mind to manipulate, deny, or distort reality in order to defend against feelings of anxiety and unacceptable impulses, and to maintain one's self schema or other schemas. So, this is all related to our mind. And these processes that manipulate, deny, or distort reality may include various kinds of defense mechanisms like repression, identification, rationalization. So, we are going to, study these in detail today. So let us take a look at the positive defense mechanisms first. That is compensation, substitution, sublimation, rationalization, repression, undoing, identification, or transference. So the results for these kind of defense mechanisms usually give us positive results. And here are the negative defense mechanisms, which can give us negative results like suppression, displacement, projection, regression, fixation, fantasy, reaction formation, conversion, dissociation, and denial. So these are the common defense mechanisms which individuals adopt in various kind of stress or anxiety situations. So healthy people normally use different defense mechanism throughout life, and defense mechanisms becomes pathological or treatable only when its persistent use leads to the maladaptive behavior, such that the physical or mental health of the individual is adversely affected. So among the purposes of defense mechanism, it is basically to protect our mind, our self, ego from anxiety or social sanctions, or to provide a refuge from a situation with which one cannot currently cope up with. So this is the model or the structure of the mind, actually the structure of personality, which is the id, ego, and superego. So here we can see in the different pictures which are portraying id, ego, and superego. Id is based on instincts. It does not go on morality. It does not see right or wrong. It is based on primal characteristics. And ego is something in which an individual takes decision based on reality. What is real? What is true to the world? And super ego is based on morality. It will first it is all the structure of personality, which is the structure of mind of a human being, in which the conflict between id, ego, and super ego goes on, and based on this only, whatever structure is um, trying to take over the other structure. So based on this only, you try to use different defense mechanisms. So superego considers the right and wrong and then only takes decision. So id is something I need to eat right this second. So someone wants to eat because he's feeling hungry. So there is no, time need to be considered whether they are sitting in the class, they want to go out immediately and they want to eat. Whether you are organizing a function and you want your, guest first to eat, but your id has taken over your mind and you just want to eat right away. Ego. Now, ego, makes you think that this is not right. Oh, it's okay that you're feeling hungry, but you need to wait and you need to, let your guest eat first and then only you will eat. So, ego can stop you from doing the immoral things. And then there is super ego. Now, it will give the reason, the morality behind the id, which has, trying to take over. Like, you can do that because you are in the middle of an important meeting. So this is how our mind works. And if id takes over, then ego and superego are subsided. So we will go through that defense mechanism. And if we reach to the superego and listen to it, then we will certainly go for the moral issues, the ethics, which are, to be followed at that time, at that situation. So the id, we can say it is a nervous system which translates the organism's needs into motivational forces called instincts or drives. Or Freud has, called them wishes. So an example of this is an infant screaming for something, and it does not know what it wants, but it just knows that it wants it now. So the infant, is taken over by the id. So id is developed at birth. It seeks instant gratification. It causes impulsive, unthinking behavior and has no regard for rules or social conversion. It is irrational and it is not based on reality. It is a selfish, childish, pleasure oriented part of the personality with no ability to delay gratification. So this is the actually the part of personality theory as mentioned by Freud. And id is actually primitive and instinct. It is based on instinct part of the mind that contains aggressive drives and hidden memories. So this is how the id structure of our mind works. Then there is ego. Id is bridled and managed by ego. Ego delays satisfying each motives and channels behavior in socially acceptable way. So how you should behave in a society. So it searches for objects to satisfy the wishes that id creates to represent the organism's needs. This is called the secondary process. So functions according to the reality principle take care of a need as soon as an appropriate object is found. So it is developed at around the age of 1 year, and it keeps track of the rewards and punishments handed out by mom or dad, your parents. The ego acts as a moderator between the pleasure sought by the id and the morals of the superego. So it is the balance maker. It seeks compromises to pacify both the id and the superego. So it can be viewed as the individual's sense of time and place. So this is how ego works. Then there is superego. Now, what is superego? It is, it contains internalized societal and parental standards of what is good, what is right, bad, what is right and wrong behavior. So this is how, as id forces you to seek pleasure without thinking anything right or wrong. Ego stops you from taking any rash decision, and whereas we can see the super ego will make you socially acceptable, take socially acceptable decisions. Like they include conscious appreciations of rules and regulations, as well as those incorporated unconsciously. Superego, the conscience, prohibitions learned from parents, authorities, society. So the superego is that part which contains the conscience, socially acquired control mechanisms, usually imparted in the first instance by the parents, which have been internalized. Two aspects to the superego: the conscience, which is an internalization of punishments and warnings. So the other is called the ego ideal. Ego ideal derives from rewards and positive models presented to the child. So now let us take a look at the positive defense mechanisms, as we have discussed the different structures of personality which takes place in our mind. So first of all, we will talk about compensation. Compensation is a pattern by which tension or anxiety is relieved by an individual to make up for personal weakness. So we know that how compensation is done. It is a pattern in which you need to relieve your tension by making up whatever you can do with your personal weakness. For example, let us discuss this so you will be better understand the concept. Like a student who fails in his studies may compensate by becoming the college champion in athletics. So this is his weakness, that he is not good at studies. He may not get good marks, but he can, follow the positive defense mechanisms so that he can. Otherwise, he will go into depression. He may, not perform in any area, and his nature will become gloomy. So now he can compensate with other things which he is good at, like the athletics, and this is how he can compensate. Now another example we will look into, that is a plain girl who cannot compete with her more beautiful sisters may compensate by studying hard and coming first in her class. So this is the totally opposite of the first example, where a girl who is an average looking person, but still, in comparison to her sisters or her friends, and she wants to, compensate for that thing which she considers herself as plain in comparison to others. And this she can do by coming, going doing her studies in much effective manner, and pay attention to her studies, and thus by securing first position in the class. So this is how the compensation defense mechanisms work. Then the next positive defense mechanism is substitution. So what is it? It is a mechanism by which tension or anxiety is reduced by replacing the unachievable goal with achievable goal. So this is a kind of mechanism in which a person thinks that we will not be able to, achieve certain goal. So we can replace it with a certain achievable goal. How? So we will take an example to understand this concept better. A student who has not been able to get admission to the MBBS course may try to substitute it with a course of physiotherapy or nursing. So maybe he's not capable enough to get into that course, or maybe by luck or any kind of issue he may have come through, he is not able to get admission in a correct course. So he can go for the alternative courses at that time, like physiotherapy or nursing. So, a person who aspires to become a national level player and not selected, he may substitute this goal by being a coach at college level. Now, a person needs to continue his life. It is not that if they have not achieved any one goal, they are useless in this world. So they have to, reduce this kind of tension in their life. And for that, and another example, we can see that a person has aspired always to, aspirations lead to actually tensions, but everyone has to set a standard goal for themselves, and sometimes they are not able to achieve that. So in that case, the person is not being able to play at a national level in cricket, and he has not been even selected in that team. So he tries to substitute this goal by being a coach, so that he can coach best students, or the best cricketers in his academy, or in his way in any educational institutions. So this is how substitution takes place. Now the next defense mechanism is sublimation. So what is sublimation? It is a mechanism that causes channelization of socially unacceptable desires into acceptable form. Like in this mechanism, primitive impulses are transferred or directed to a socially useful goal. Now, how? Let us take an example, like a teenage boy with strong competitive and aggressive feelings becomes a football player. Now at this age, few students are not able to control their emotions and feelings. This is a time a teenager faces this time where there's they face aggression. Sometimes they are emotionally imbalanced, sometimes because they are growing at that time. So it is an age of storm. So to control this, he has sublimated what his feelings to become a football player, in which he is going to use his ability for the strong competition, and also use his aggressive feelings, because in sports you can take out your aggressive feelings also, not at socially unacceptable behavior, but in a acceptable way. So a person who has aggressive feeling and he cannot express in society, he can become a soldier, he can become a boxer, or adopt any other method through which they can, relieve their emotions, their feelings in certain way. So this is how sublimation takes place. Then the next defense mechanism is rationalization. And it is a defense mechanism in which an individual justifies his failures and socially unacceptable feelings and behaviors by making excuses or formulate logical reasons, socially approved reasons. So now in this kind of defense mechanism, the person tries to cope up with this kind of behavior by making excuses. For example, we can see a girl fails to get admission for the nursing course may point out a number of difficulties of nursing profession. So we can say that a fox can say that the grapes are sour. So this is a story which will fit into the concept of rationalization. So a girl is not able to get admission where she wanted to, and she just blamed the course in which she is not able to gain the uh, admission, and she says that this course is not suitable, not appropriate for her, and it is very, this profession is full of difficulties. So this is how she has solved her problem, and she has rationalized that whatever she was not able to achieve, this is the excuse for that. So, another example we can look at: a person without a vehicle says that he does not want to risk his life by driving. A person does not own a vehicle, otherwise, he wants to. But among his friends, among the other group members, he just does not want to accept that he is not able to afford a vehicle, or various reasons for which he does not have a vehicle. So he simply rationalize it by giving an excuse that he cannot risk his life by driving. So he does not need a vehicle for that. So I hope you are able to understand through these examples that what defense mechanism means to us. Here in another example, we can see a student has a report card which is saying F in history test. So he has rationalized because he has said that I failed because my teacher hates me. So this is the rationale he has given for failing in the history test. He has not accepted that he has not studied for the history test, he was not prepared for the test, or it was his fault that he failed in the exam. He has given all the blame to his teacher because the teacher does not like him. He has failed him in this history test. Then the another defense mechanism is repression. Repression is a process of unconscious forgetfulness of our unpleasant experiences. So we try to repress it, we try to suppress it. So it is the involuntary blocking of unpleasant feelings and experiences from one's awareness. So we don't try to remember or want to remember those experiences which are not pleasant. For example, we can say a man is jealous of his good friend's success, but is unaware of his feeling of jealousy. So he does not know that he is becoming jealous of his friend because he has become successful. He has, got admission into a good institution, or he has got a good package job. But this man does not know that this feeling is known as jealousy. He's not liking it, that means that he's jealous of his friend. So he's trying to repress it, he's not trying to admit it, that this an unpleasant experience, he does not want to accept that this is the reason why he does not like his friend's success. Then another defense mechanism is undoing. So undoing is the act symbolically cancelling or reversing out a previous act which is unacceptable. For example, a daughter shout at her father as there is no petrol in the car and she's getting late for office, and brings a favorite film for her father to watch in the evening. So in the morning while going to the office, she shouts at her father that he has not looked into the matter, that there is no petrol in her car. So in this scenario, we can make out that as an other person, we can make out that this does not mean that his father was responsible for the there is no petrol in the car, but the daughter does not want it to accept it because she was getting late, and she feels that when she is going out or when she has to reach somewhere in time, she does not want to uh, accept that it was her fault, that she neglected the important thing and she got late, she has not taken care of the petrol which need to be fuel up in the car. So for doing this, for she knows that she was wrong in the morning, and for the undoing part, she brings to cover up the act which she has done in the morning, she brings a favorite film. Earlier we used to borrow films, so maybe she has brought a film for her father to watch. on TV or on DVD or whatever means she has. So she's trying to, cover up the thing which she has done wrong in the morning. So this is an example of undoing her behavior of shouting and then bringing a fill. So this is how the defense mechanism for undoing works. Then the next defense mechanism is identification. And through this process, an individual attempts to increase self-worth by acquiring certain attributes and characteristics of another individual one admires. So it plays a large part in the development of personality, and in this individual feels personal satisfaction in the success and achievement of other group or person. So, for example, we can say the young son of a famous civil rights worker adopts his father's attitudes and behavior with the intent of pursuing similar aspirations. So, this is how we identify with persons we want to become. Like if in a class we are talking about, then a teacher is a role model for a student. So, whatever a teacher is doing, a student can identify himself or herself with her or his teacher. So with the intent of doing good things which they think they should adopt from their teacher, like the qualities of punctuality, regularity, or the things of to friendly behavior, any traits which they find attractive in their teachers. So, an illiterate father often takes his son's higher education as his own achievement. So, this is how an illiterate father has identified his own failure, that what he was not able to achieve. Now, his son has achieved that higher education. So, he is considering identifying his achievement, his son's achievement, as his own achievement. So, this is how the identification behavior takes place. Now, the next defense mechanism is transference. So, in transference, the image of one person is unconsciously identified with that of another, transferring the images unconsciously. For example, we can see a student who is fond of his mother finds the teacher of the same age and height as his mother. So he's trying to look into his or her teacher as her mother, so in place of his mother. So he transfer his positive emotions to the teacher as his mother. So we can say that teachers are sometimes looked upon by the teachers as a motherly figure. So they find their mothers at home, and in schools they find teachers as their behaving, they transfer their image in their teachers. So this is how transference is done. Now we will go through the negative defense mechanisms. So earlier we, studied about the positive defense mechanisms. Now the results in which can be maladaptive. This is negative defense mechanisms. So they have a negative impact over relations or development of person. So the first one is suppression. Suppression is the voluntary blocking of unpleasant feelings and experiences from one's awareness to avoid discomfort and anxiety. Like, for example, we can say the student consciously decides not to think about her insult in examination hall so that she can study effectively. Okay, so this is similar to repression, but it is suppressing of the feeling that maybe she was caught doing cheating in the examination hall, or there may be some misunderstanding. So this is how she is trying to suppress her insult which has taken place in the exam hall. Another example, we can see that a patient may refuse to consider his difficulties by saying that he does not want to talk about it. So this is how we suppress our feelings sometimes. We sometimes don't want to talk about the negative things in our life, or the some mishappenings which has taken place in our life. This is how we suppress our emotions. We don't want to talk about it. We want to forget about it for some time, and we present before others that as we act as nothing has happened. So this is how suppression works. Now, the next negative defense mechanism is displacement. So, in this defense mechanism, an unconsciously emotional feeling is transferred to person or object who are less dangerous than those who initially aroused the emotion. So, an individual who is using displacement is unaware of this at that time, but later he comes to realize it. For example, a person who is angry with his boss, but he obviously you cannot just show your anger to the boss. So, just for the fear of losing the job, but in return he fights with his wife, or takes out his anger on his family when he returns from the office. So this is similar to the transference part of positive defense mechanism, in which the displacement of emotions is taking place. Because he's not able to shout at back at his boss, he's shouting back at the persons who are not able to say anything to him, or who will bear with him whatever emotions he shows, because they are his family. So this is how displacement takes place. Now, the next mechanism is projection. So it is placing blame for own difficulties upon others. So this is how a project our on own faults on others. So here others are seen as responsible for your own mistakes. So one's own unacceptable feelings and thoughts are expressed as they are due to others. For example, we can see a surgeon who did mistake in operation may insist that it happened because the nurse who was present in the operation theater, or the ward boy, they did their task not in an effective manner. So you are clearly projecting all your faults, all your blames on the other persons. Then another example, we can say that a business person who values punctuality is late for a meeting and states, "Sorry, I am late. My assistant forgot to remind me of the time." So he does not want to show the other persons with whom he is carrying out the meeting that he was late for his own reasons, but he is just projecting that his assistant was responsible for it. So here in projection, we tries to find out faults in everything: his fault, her fault, their fault, but not my fault. So this is how projection takes place. Now, the next negative defense mechanism is regression. Regression means an immature way of responding to a stress or go backwards. So in this, the adult revert back to an earlier developmental level in order to deal with reality. So an individual does less mature form of behavior when faced with difficulty sometimes. So where he finds less conflict, hence less anxiety. So maybe you are a grown up, but at this time of anxiety, at this point of tension, you want to become a child. So, for example, we can say that a nurse makes an error in giving medication, and as soon as it is found that she has done mistake in giving medication, and as now she cannot do anything, so she started crying. So no one, says anything to her. So this is how you are a mature person, you are a grown up person, but when you are caught doing any mistake, you started crying just to avoid those things, so that those conflicts does not come in front of you, or the other person becomes afraid to blame you. Then the next defense mechanism is fantasy. So fantasy is used to gratify frustrated desires by imaginary achievements and wishful thinking. What we have not been able to achieve, we do it in our daydreaming. The tendency of daydreaming is most common during the adolescence period. For example, a young boy who could not help his ailing father due to shortage of money daydreams that someday he will get lot of money from lottery ticket, and his father, mother and family members has best of the facilities for everything. So these are the kind of fantasies of, we are not able to buy a certain model of our mobile phone, but for this we daydream that someday we will get an iPhone, or the latest version of iPhone. So this is how the fantasy negative this kind of defense mechanism takes place. The next defense mechanism is reaction formation, and in this defense mechanism, the unacceptable real feelings are repressed and acceptable opposite feelings are expressed. So it is defined as unconscious transformation of unacceptable impulse into exactly opposite attitudes, impulse, feelings, or behaviors. Then there is another defense mechanism, that is denial. Any individual refuses to face the reality. It protects the individual from the shock of reality. The person unconsciously use this mechanism, and this reaction is for some time. So some people do this. Denial is quite harmless if practiced in moderation, but can lead to serious difficulties in health and lifestyle if practiced in excess. So you cannot every time deny the fact, deny the reality. You have to, at some point of time, you have to accept the reality. For example, we can say when some very near and dear one die in the family, some people say, no, he is still alive. So they are not able to accept that someone has died who was very near to him, him or her, died, passed away, and will never come back in their family. But they, some people are not able to, accept the reality, the truth. So this is how they can go in a denial mode. This they assumes or they presumes that nothing has happened, everything is same as before. This is the denial mode. So this is how we went through various positive and negative defense mechanisms today with the help of examples. I hope you will be able to understand what these kind of defense mechanisms, give meaning to us. And people normally use different kind of defense mechanisms throughout their life. So maybe the people, among the purposes of this is to protect ourselves from different conditions of anxiety, or any kind of social sanctions, or to provide a refuge from a situation with which one cannot currently cope up with. So this is how we try to adapt these defense mechanisms. So various people use different kinds of defense mechanisms. Sometimes it is in a positive way, and sometimes it is in negative way. So it is a part of our life, and through then there is the personality, which depends on id, ego, and superego. And in this way, we tries to adjust our personality. So you can go through various references regarding the defense mechanism approach, and the various national and international websites and other sources have talked about this. And with various examples, you will be able to better understand this kind of defense mechanism concept. So let us now discuss the evaluation questions. Question number 1 is, it is a mechanism by which tension or anxiety reduced by replacing the unachievable goal with achievable goal. So this we have discussed. The options are substitution, aggression, superego, or denial. So the correct answer is substitution. So in the substitution, we tries to replace the unachievable goal which we are not able to achieve. What we can achieve. For example, we discussed like a person is not able to become a national level cricket player, and he substitute it their achievable goal in the way he becomes a coach for such students who goes in who goes to play at national level. So this is how substitution is done. This is a positive defense mechanism. Then question number 2 is, according to Freud, structure of personality does not include. So there are 3 main features of the structure of personality according to Freud. And the options are id, ego, superego, or solution. And id, ego, superego are the structures of personality, and it does not include solution. Question number 3 is, Dash in 1904 used this term defense mechanism. Options are Sigmund Freud, Clark's, Abbott, Friggins. And the correct answer is Sigmund Freud. Okay, so he used the term of defense mechanism. Question number 4 is dash is a pattern of adjustment through which an individual relieves anxiety caused by an uncomfortable situation that threatens self-esteem. Options are alter ego, social learning, defense mechanism, or motivation. So the option correct answer is defense mechanism, which is a pattern of adjustment where we want to relieve ourselves from any kind of tension or anxiety, any kind of uncomfortable situation which is threatening our self-esteem. Next question is, which of the following is not the negative defense mechanism? The options are suppression, displacement, projection, or enhancement. And the correct answer is enhancement. So the first three one are the negative defense mechanisms that are suppression, displacement, or projection. Question number 6 is dash enables a person to resolve conflict and reduce the stress and anxiety. The options are defense mechanism, denial, society, or none of the above. And the correct answer is defense mechanism, which enables a person to successfully resolve a conflict so that they can reduce the stress and anxiety which is bothering them. Next question is, these defense mechanisms are classified according to its results as options are positive defense mechanism, negative defense mechanism, both A and B, or none. And the correct answer is both A and B. So these two are the types, positive and the negative defense mechanism. Question number 8 is the part of the personality that seeks to fulfill all wants, needs, and impulses is. Options are the ego, the superego, the id, or regression. So here we can see the correct answer is the id, which is of primitive nature, which is of primal nature, which only wants, focuses on the wish which they want to achieve. Question number 9 is the part of the personality that tries to get the ego to act in an idealistic and moral manner. The options are the superego, the id, the ego, or none. And the correct answer is the superego, which is, leads us to do things in moral manner. It is based on morality. So it is more idealistic in nature. Question number 10 is dash is used often to describe situations in which people seem unable to face reality or admit an obvious truth. So what is that? The options are positivity, denial, imposition, or deprived. And the correct answer is the denial mode, where we don't want to face reality or admit that this is the obvious truth. And this is how we go in the denial mode for some time, and which need to be, we need to accept the reality after some time. But as a human being, we don't want to take stress, we don't want to accept reality. And this is how we sometimes go in the negative, defense mechanism, that is of denial mode. And with this, we come to the end of the topic today. And I hope you will go through the references and you will try to find out more about the different kinds of defense mechanisms as given by various psychologists. And if there is, it creates disturbance in our personality, if our personality is being affected by it. So in this way, we can say that if it is affecting our personality, so in this manner we can find out that what kind of problems are occurring among us, between us, and how we can take care of that. And as a teacher, we need to help our students to gather this kind of personality, how they can do that, how they can improve their personality, and how they can incorporate certain things which need to be enhance our personality. So with this we end our class and see you in next class. Thank you very much.